We know the Steelers going to try to come in and raw dog us.
No wonder the Steelers are running away with the AFC North. You got the other team's star players focused on some other shit. They got their mind elsewhere. We talked about Myles Garrett's post-game comments.
Even if I was running butt-ass naked.
Now you got Jamar Chase saying this.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yep.
I also see why the Ravens are down so bad this year. Lamar Jackson says he wears female perfume.
People may not know this about me, but I rather prefer like girl perfume or something.
Yeah, that's definitely not good for the T levels. Not a coincidence Lamar Jackson is injured. So while the rest of the AFC North is clearly in disarray, not locked in at all, the Steelers are absolutely dialed, according to Deshaun Elliott.
Moore lost again today. How surprised are you of how far ahead you guys are 5 games
Bro,
into
I
this?
don't give a fuck about Baltimore. Still early in the season. We got to handle our games, one game at a time, one day at a time, literally. So, last year we were, 8-2, 8-1, one point in time. We started shitting the bed. So, we got to just keep stacking these wins. And whatever happens at the end of the season, whether we're AFC North champions or whatever, we just got to win playoff games. So
He's right. Can't get too far ahead of ourselves. But you even got Aaron Rodgers at age 41, who's accomplished everything that you want as an NFL player, as an NFL quarterback. He's got celebrity status, seemingly more locked in than ever. In his perhaps final season, not doing McAfee anymore, and he even said this offseason, didn't even do ayahuasca. Skip the ayahuasca.
Caterpillar opens his wings and just cannot fucking believe this is my life now.
But in all seriousness, this team does seem different than these recent past iterations of the Steelers. And we talked about that being the hope with all of our roster construction this offseason. Things were looking a little weird the first 2-3 weeks of the season when we were seeing some of the same shit pop up that we've lamented about. But now, after week 5, 4-1, how the offense looks, how the defense looks, and the mentality coming from guys like Deshaun Elliott, Jalen Ramsey, making sure that he didn't miss a game with the hamstring injury, Aaron Rodgers playing the way that he has and being very low-key, not making headlines, not causing drama, not stirring things up. It just feels different, man. So I'm expecting to win this Bengals game. I know we could talk about, how in the past we've had these letdown games. Tomlin's record on Thursday Night Football, not so good, particularly on the road against division opponents. But I think it's different, bro. Last week we got a glimpse at how this team, this 2025 Steelers, went up against an inferior opponent after having success against legitimate teams and being on a high. Had all the signs of being a letdown game, a Tomlin loss, right? But it was the opposite. It looked like how it was supposed to look. In fact, I think we even played better than what the final score indicated because of that, that Boswell missed field goal and all that. We dropped some interceptions. There were still opportunities to be had out there, but ultimately we looked like the better team flat out. There was nothing up for debate, no question about it. I think those first couple weeks and those hiccups were just more due to us being a new team, a bunch of these new players coming together, trying to find our chemistry. Also, we were dealing with some injuries, and that's what, we were talking about. This is really frustrating because it looks a lot like some of these same old Steeler teams of recent years, but there was the caveat of this is still very new. We did have a lot of turnover this offseason with the roster. We've dealt with some early injuries in the season. Let's see what it looks like after 4 or 5 weeks, maybe week 6, week 7. If it's still the same stuff, then yes, we can hit the panic button. But it hasn't. The Steelers have gotten better and better each and every week. The defense is playing like it's paid to do. The offense looks better than ever with Rodgers at the helm, cooking and looking like vintage form. So I'm feeling good about this team. Now Tomlin, he's on high alert for this matchup against the Bengals. Even though they have a shitty defense and they got a guy that they just traded for last week that's literally only been in the building for a week? It's going to be a week and a day or two when he makes his second start with the Bengals against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football. Tomlin's concerned about Flacco. I mean, it's actually, to me, concerning how concerned Tomlin is about Joe Flacco going to the Bengals. One, he's pissed that the trade happened to begin with.
To be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us, because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
But then you hear the way that he talks about Flacco. It's like, bro, are we watching the same player?
It certainly made sense from Cincinnati's perspective.
Does Flacco play the way Zach likes to run his offense, basically?
He can throw the football, and he's always been able to throw the football. Arm strength, arm accuracy, anticipatory passer, fluid movement through progressions. That's always been his game. And so certainly we got a full week's work ahead of us in terms of minimizing a veteran, savvy, talented thrower like him, coupled with the eligibles that they have. And
8 days of showing up has to start 2 games for a new team. Can you speak to how hard that is, or maybe it's veteran guy?
Doesn't appear to be hard for Joe Flacco.
Obviously, Tomlin isn't going to talk bad about an upcoming opponent. Like, let's just get that out the way. He's not trying to make headlines or throw out any bulletin board material. He's never done that. If you ever hear him talk about the other team in his Tuesday press conferences, it's always glowing remarks about everyone we're going up against. So there's that. But this was a little extra to me. It's like, bro, like what version of Flacco are you envisioning right now? Because when he was on the Ravens and we were facing off against him, it felt like for the most part we always had his number. Maybe he had a lucky game here or there, but I was never really scared of Joe Flacco. Almost like when Baker Mayfield was with the Browns. We had his number. Like I wasn't concerned about Baker Mayfield outdueling us or anything. And then I'm just trying to think of his other stops. He went to the Broncos and the Jets. Eagles was like mainly a backup. Didn't play well there. And then whenever Flacco even had his little Browns run and they get to the playoffs, I don't even think we played them when Flacco was there. Is he just thinking about Joe Flacco when we played him with the Colts last season?
I commented to the guys that, keep Richardson upright. Don't put Flacco in the game. And, Flacco ended up in the game.
Is that it? Maybe. If that's the only version of Flacco Tomlin's thinking of, then maybe he's worth the high alert that Tomlin is putting on him. Now, I will say this. Flacco is an upgrade over Browning. I don't think Flacco's good, but he does have weapons to throw the ball down the field to, and they could do that glitch that Flacco used to do with the Ravens where he's just chucking it up 40, 50 yards and trying to get pass interferences with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins just like he did with Torrey Smith and some of those other Ravens receivers that would go vertical. But I do think Tomlin has a point about the interdivision trade and how weird that was. Like, I get the Browns are that bad. Like, they probably don't care about their season anymore. But are you really that much of a dumpster fire that you're trading the guy, like he said, that was going to be your starting quarterback week 1 to a division rival to be their starter when they're hurting and they're down bad? Again, Browns have nothing to play for. They're not really competing with anyone in the AFC North anymore. But there's got to be some principle to this, right? You just don't do certain things. But the Browns are literally just playing football, doing this NFL thing in their own world that they're just clueless. And I get why Tomlin's pissed off about the timing of it because, as I said, Flacco is an upgrade over Browning. And the fact, too, Flacco's so new to the Bengals, what do you really prepare for? It's probably going to look a little bit different than what it did against the Packers just because they're going to have some more reps in practice and more time together to try to build out an offense with Flacco. Short week, too. So, yeah, that tips the competitive balance a little bit to a way that doesn't really favor the Steelers. But I also think Steelers are in a much better spot than the Bengals, with Bengals not having Joe Burrow and their defense being shitty. So even if there is some uncertainty with Flacco being on the Bengals, I mean, I'm sure they would have just rather had Joe Burrow be healthy. And I think the Steelers, we're favored going into this game for a reason. We should win this game. And I think it should look like what it did against the Browns last week. No excuses to lose this. There isn't. Just no excuses. Win this game. Look how you're supposed to look. And then we'll get on with Week 8, Packers at home, Rodgers revenge game. But that's it for some of these sound bites that popped up yesterday and reacting to that. Last thing I wanted to go over was Ian Rappaport reporting that since the Titans are without a head coach, they fired Brian Callahan yesterday. They're going to be looking for some new candidates, and Arthur Smith, Steelers' current offensive coordinator, is a guy to look out for.
Anyway, as far as the Titans, they now have to find a new head coach. Couple names to watch, Colleen. I would say Matt Nagy, who worked with Mike Bergonzi in Kansas City, certainly would be a name to watch. The decorated Chiefs offensive coordinator. And then Arthur Smith, the former Falcons head coach, also a former OC in Tennessee.
I mean, it makes sense. Ever since leaving Atlanta and joining the Steelers and going back to being an offensive coordinator, he's been quality for us. Doing it with a bunch of different quarterbacks, maybe even with some lack of talent on offense in the weapons department. You know, we've been competent. Outside of maybe 2 or 3 weeks we can complain about. I'm looking at the end of 2024 with, you know, I think it was week 18, that Bengals game. Chiefs game was rough, and also in the playoffs. Outside of that, Arthur Smith's been, I think, pretty good. And he's had to do it with all different styles of quarterbacks, from Fields to Russ, now Rodgers. And then you think of the connection that he has with the Titans. He moved up the coaching ranks within the Titans organization from, like, wasn't he like a tight ends coach, offensive assistant, maybe O-line coach? I can't remember, but he worked his way all the way up to being their offensive coordinator during the Titans' arguably best time as a franchise and as an offense, the Derrick Henry years. I know they went to a Super Bowl way back in, 2000, but for a 2-year stretch, that might be the Titans, you know, peak as an offense and as a franchise when Arthur Smith was their offensive coordinator. So I see why they would be interested. It makes complete sense. He's got head coaching experience. He's been a quality offensive coordinator. He's familiar with the Titans culture. Now, to me, this is just more evidence that the Titans should have never got rid of Mike Vrabel to begin with. Like, if you're trying to go back to what was during that Tannehill era and bring in Arthur Smith, why didn't you just keep Mike Vrabel? Like, Mike Vrabel wasn't the problem with the Titans teams in, you know, the latter Mike Vrabel years. It wasn't him. It was the personnel. I mean, I think at one point, weren't they starting Josh Dobbs in a similar way that the Bengals are going with Joe Flacco, like just off the street, and they were competing for a playoff spot still at the end? I'm guessing this talk is more about in the offseason as opposed to in season, because I think that would be crazy. I don't think that's really ever been done before, and Arthur Smith doesn't seem like that type of guy to jump ship on something that he started, especially with the success that we're having and the excitement around this team and how it feels like we got a legitimate chance to be something. I couldn't see that happening because Titans already named an interim coach. I really don't think that's a commonplace thing. If it's ever happened before, you guys could let me know in the comments, but I think Rappaport's talking about Arthur Smith to the Titans potentially in the offseason. And he interviewed for head coaching jobs last offseason anyway, with I think it was the Jets and the Bears. Didn't get the job, but yeah, it makes sense. It would be an unfortunate loss pending that everything goes well for the Steelers this year and Arthur Smith's able to keep it up as a play caller. It would suck to lose him, but it's understandable. It's a good problem to have. Like, we haven't really had this problem before with OCs and DCs leaving to become head coaches because of how good they did with the Steelers. Would be unfortunate, though. Who knows what he wants, though, man? I think there's going to be a trend. There's going to be a wave in the upcoming years, and you're kind of already seeing it where certain guys just want to stay OCs or DCs. They don't want the role of a head coach and those responsibilities. They just feel like they're better as a play caller. Cliff Kingsbury is one of those guys with the Commanders. I could see him just chilling there and being the OC. You're seeing it with a bunch of DCs out there, like Vic Fangio with the Eagles. He jumped around from being with the Dolphins, now he's with the Eagles. Like, he's probably not looking to be a head coach. Now, I don't know what Arthur Smith's temperament is with that. He was taking those head coaching interviews last offseason, but who knows, man? Like, all things go well this season, rest of the season. Maybe Aaron Rodgers wants to come back. We give it another run with Smith and Aaron Rodgers as the OC QB duo. Who knows? I don't think this is anything to get pressed about or stressed about right now because I don't think anything's happening. But it makes sense. It makes sense for them to bring in Arthur Smith and have interest in him, clearly, because of the connections, because of his success as an offensive coordinator, et cetera, et cetera. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Stay chilling. Peace.